And I'd like to invite 4 of our Pioneer Network board members to join me up on stage: Jessica, Tim, Juliet, and Wayne. And Kathy Lieblich and Joan Devine, I'd like you to join us on stage. So I'm going to start with a story, because we're all about stories, right? So I think it was about 5 years ago. Pioneer Network decided that they were going to hire a new president and CEO. And I was thinking, that's very interesting to me. I would love to be considered for this position, but I don't know if it's quite the right time in my life. Well, I think it was shortly after that somebody sent me an email, gave me a call. I'm not sure exactly how it happened, Kathy Lieblich, and said, "You know, Penny, I think that you should apply for this position. I think you'd be really good." And I said, "Kathy, I've already made the decision. I'm not going to do it." She said, "You know, my husband Mark and I are going to be out in Boulder in a few weeks. Come on up. Let's get together. Let's chat." Well, after spending, I can't remember if we had coffee or lunch, and then they said, "Oh, come to a concert with me, with us on Saturday night." By the end of that weekend, guess what I did? And I was fortunate. Okay, that's not the point of the story. I was fortunate enough, though, to actually be selected, and here I am today. So thank you very much, Kathy, for that encouragement. So, of course, then I got thrown in, first conference in Denver. That's great, and I really, got to experience what putting together a conference is like, got to see how hard Kathy and Joan work, and kept thinking, Joan was like putting these subtle hints out there sometimes about maybe how much longer she would be with Pioneer Network. And I thought I was going to have a panic attack because I realized everything that she did. So then I think it was before the conference in Louisville in 2019. And Joan came to me and she said, "Penny, I've decided. I think I'm going to retire after the conference in Denver." Now remember, this was 2019, right? Well, so I didn't panic because I thought, I have 3 years, right? Well, look what's happened in those 3 years, right? I mean, we've gone through 2.5 years of a pandemic, 2 of our conferences have been canceled, all of these things. But I knew that this was going to be happening. Now, I have to say, I didn't necessarily think that 2022 was going to be the year that Kathy also came to me and said that she was going to retire. But in 2021, Kathy had a momentous event in her life. She became a grandmother for the first time. And then she said, and I didn't think that this was going to happen, Mark, either, that Mark Lieblich was going to retire in 2022. Yeah, exactly. He's very excited up front. And so now here we are today. And Kathy and Joan are retiring, so I needed your help and the board's help to wish them well as they enter this new chapter in their life. So we did something very special with the help. Actually, Jessica Lou Kim really coordinated this. And a lot of you contributed to memory books for Kathy and Joan. So Kathy, Joan, we have some very special gifts for you. You helped to do these beautiful creations of these memory books, and then you can also see what's underneath, something near and dear to your heart, the values and principles of Pioneer Network. So I have to say, I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, though, without them. But Yes, it's taken the whole greenhouse team, right, to take the place of Kathy and Joan. But I just want to tell you both, it has been my greatest pleasure to work with both of you. And I don't know how I could have done any of this without you. So this isn't goodbye. A dream job. It's been a dream job for all of us. So please stand up and give Kathy Lieblich, Joan Devine a round of applause. Okay, get the show on the road. Okay, so you may be wondering, we have a lot of first timers here, right? And I think that we saw that in the welcome session. And I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, this is a conference like no other. I've never attended a conference like this. You're doing the hokey pokey, there's this singing, all this stuff. And then there's a campfire. And I think you might notice that around your table there's something special as well. Well, it has been a tradition. Pioneer Network is all about tradition. It has been a tradition of Pioneer Network to have these conversations around the campfire. And, we're in Colorado, so campfires, it's hit or miss whether you can have one. But we can have this one here. And we've heard a lot today about the power of community. And I think that's something that during the pandemic has really begun to resonate with me now more than ever, that we all need community. And when people move into senior living environments, into nursing homes, one of the things that's often missing is community. And so that's what we're going to talk about today with a conversation around the campfire. And so I am going to be joined pretty soon by Barry Barkan and Jennifer Carson. There's a lot of pictures being taken over there. And Joe Carella and Al Power and Susan Ryan. And we're going to have a good old conversation around the campfire about community. But first, I would like to show you this very special video, and very many thanks to Al Power and Ann Hills, who will be joining us later as well for this video tribute.
I am a witness to your story. I know you well, like I know my own. I am the one who hears you calling. Take my hand, you are not alone. When darkness falls, I lift the longing, making you comfortable and warm. I bring you sustenance and solace. Hold the sail through the coming storm. You are the wisdom, you the warrior. Mother or father, someone's child, brought to us here for tender keeping. Frail or strong, spirit worn or wild. You were the first, some of us followed. Witness or warrior, too many died. Fading so quickly, close together. Hand in hand, I was by your side. has brought us together. Our destinies unclear, still each one of us matters. Every life is sacred here. I am a witness to your story. I know you well like I know my own. I am the one who hears you calling. Take my hand, you are not alone. Take my hand, you are not alone.
So this was a tribute to all of you, and this was written and played by Ann Hills and Al Power. Friends, please join me. Have you ever seen bigger marshmallows? Do you need the clicker thing? Nope. This looks dangerous. These are real. They are real. The fire's not, but these are. So Barry, I think you're starting the conversation off. Yeah.
Is there a clicker?
Over here.
Well, first of all, it's all about love. And it's about intelligence. And it's about rising above what we already know. And so I was looking at this piece by Umberto Maturana, who said human beings are biocultural entities. Think about that. Human beings live and grow and develop in relationship to their culture. And God forbid, in relationship to an unhealthy culture, we devolve. And so when I read that, it really resonated with me about the work that I had done with my friend Bob in 1977, when we determined to create a transformative community. We called it a regenerative community in a long-term care environment. You know, community is really the foundation of the movement. That's what we've been hearing again and again and again, and that's the overall theme of what I'm going to talk about. People evolve simultaneously with the community. And so I'd like you to meet my friend Ken Fox. Ken Fox is a guy who was the last Jewish member of the Berlin legislature and an early advocate for elders. And Ken's voice was silenced by a stroke until that day in mid-February in 1977. I can't believe it. I started working with elders, and now here I am, when we held our first community meeting at the old Jewish home in Oakland, California. So we started out by saying that we're here to start a community. And it was chaotic. People were not very happy about being there. And it was a good home. They brought us in to stir things up among the elders. And after we started talking, and towards the end of the meeting, someone said to us, "So what do you really want to do here with us anyway?" And we said, "Well, we'd like to start a movement right here, right now, to change the nature of aging in America." So afterwards, Ken Fox ambled up to me, and he went like this. And then he pointed to everybody in the circle, and he went like this again. And then he did it one more time and laughed and laughed and laughed and walked away for a good measure. And the next day he came in here to the meeting. We said we're going to be here every day to have a meeting. And he came in to the meeting, and he handed me a little quarter-sized sheet of paper that said, "If you think you can do that with these people, you're crazier than they are." And there were moments when I thought that maybe he was right. And so we began meeting every day with the folks. And over time, they began thinking of themselves as the Council of Elders. And they addressed death in the nursing home and created a ritual. When someone died for the first time, we said to them, "What do you do here when someone dies?" And they said, "Well, they wheel them out the back door, and they don't want to tell us because they don't want to upset the old people." And they created a ritual that became embedded in the home, not just for the residents, but for when the staff died. Staff on all levels, the home's board, and all other people began to be accountable to the resident community. And the community took on real life as new residents came in. And they were welcomed in the community. One day, I remember one woman saying, "This is the worst day of my whole life." Because after all, entering a nursing home isn't like going off to college. And someone on the other end of the circle said, "I felt that too, but this is a pretty great place. And why don't we meet together after the meeting, and I'll talk to you about it." And each new staff member had to stand behind the circle of residents, in the middle of the circle of residents. And they became welcomed into the community and knew that this was where they had to be accountable. And residents began to know each other and be known and to share the narrative of their lives. And the home became supportive, a voice and a choice for each resident. Now, this kind of community doesn't happen by accident. It takes one or more people empowered to be staff developers, to be community developers, who are both a leader and a member, a teacher and a learner, an advocate and a love. And it takes a daily community meeting that engenders the learning, growth, and development of each person there. And it was like we dropped a pebble into that pool, that still pool, and that pebble became, well, what we're here today, as it got together with other pebbles thrown into the pool. And what it also takes is a transformative vision. And the Live Oak definition of an elder became the heart of our transformative vision. And I would like to because what it did is it changed the notion of a place that takes care of people who are in decline to a place that fosters learning and growth of each individual. And so I wonder if you would do me the honor of reading the definition of an elder with me. An elder is a person who is still growing, still a learner, still filled with potential, and whose life continues to have within it promise for and connection to the future. An elder is still in pursuit of happiness, joy, and pleasure, and their birthright to these remains intact. Moreover, an elder is a person who deserves respect and wisdom and honor, and whose work it is to synthesize wisdom from long life experience and formulate this into a legacy for future generations. Thank you, and I love you all. I think you're next.
Jennifer.
Hello, is this working? Hey, wow, thank you for the clicker. And don't eat my marshmallow berry.
Oh, that's your
Just kidding, I'm kidding. Well, I wrote a love letter for all of you this morning. And so here it goes. Dear members of the Pioneer Network, after a very late night of fun in the hotel lobby, I woke up at the crack of dawn thinking about how residential care communities can adapt, persist, and even thrive in these difficult times. I've been listening to your stories since we arrived, and you've inspired my thinking about what I can only call resilient communities. A resilient community has the ability to withstand and even transcend adversity. I've taken in your stories, amazed and full of gratitude, and I'd like to share what I think your resilient communities have in common. And I'm going to call this common ground the 6 foundations of resilient communities. Now, mind you, this is not an empirically tested theoretical framework. This is a morning epiphany after a very late night of partying, but I would like to briefly share with each of you what these foundations might mean, what I've learned by listening to your stories, and what I'll now carry with me in my efforts to encourage others. We all know the importance of putting the person before the task, and so I think the first foundation is to honor people, to honor their giftedness, their struggles, their need to heal, their role as active citizens. Thank you, members of Schlegel Villages, for sharing the importance of truly honoring people with me today. The power to envision the future of the community and to build its resilience resides with community members. This power is not something that can be purchased, implemented, or regulated. It must be sourced from the people and fostered by the people as active citizens. The second foundation is act courageously, especially when it's hard. As individuals and as a community, we need the courage to confront the challenges that surround us and to take responsibility for our future. Courage is the quality of a confident character, not to be afraid or easily intimidated, but without being careless or inconsiderate. Instead, acts of courage are thoughtful and caring. In fact, as a verb, courage is to encourage. While courage is an act of strength, it is an act of love as well. Pioneer Network, your stories are filled with examples of the third foundation, embrace complexity. We are navigating some monumental, interrelated crises with our already complex communities. And so, in other words, we are navigating layers of complexity. And as much as we hate to admit it, we know way deep down in our souls, there are no simple solutions. There are no quick fixes. There are no blueprints that are going to lead every community everywhere to a better future. But that's okay, because what I'm hearing loud and clear from all of you is that we have the resources we need to deal with complexity, strong relationships, and effective communication. These are the tools that create extraordinary outcomes. The ability to adapt to change is the fourth foundation. An individual who adapts to change is resilient, and this room is filled with resilient people. A community that adapts to change is resilient, and this room is filled with representatives from those resilient communities. Adaptability is a foundation of person-directed care, and so it's no surprise that communities that were already committed to person-directed care before the pandemic have been able to adapt to the challenges of the pandemic with greater success. I'll say it, 2 more. The 5th foundation, work collectively. Working harder and smarter will only get us part of the way to our goals. Particularly in difficult times, we need to work collectively smarter. We need to work reflectively smarter and spiritually smarter, which means turning to our core values for guidance. Your stories are filled with examples of this type of work, and I am in awe. In tough times, our first instinct might be to switch into hero mode, to make tough decisions, to shoulder the inevitable burdens, to put all of our energy into fixing the problem ourselves for the benefit of others. But this kind of mindset divides us from the human energies and ideas of community members who can help us find an even better solution. Heroes don't build resilient communities. Community members do. And as we continue forward, my friends, remember the importance of the 6th foundation, to build capacity in all that we do so that our efforts will be sustained. Solutions can't serve only me or only us and only for now. Our solutions must also work for other people, other communities over time for future generations. By working collectively smarter, we develop co-ownership for community-driven changes, and this co-ownership is what helps us build capacity for long-term success. And so, these are the 6 foundations, I think, at least of this morning, of resilient residential care communities. And so to close, friends of Pioneer Network, let me just encourage you each to continue to shine your light and know that you are resilient. With affection, Jennifer.
Joe's next.
It gives new meaning to double-fisted. I have all this thing going on. Triple. I have to carry that too.
I'll hold the marshmallow.
And I have to press OK.
Yeah, you have to. Lots of
So I have images here, and one thing you don't see are older people only. It's an entire community. As some of you know, I developed the Scandinavian Living Center in the Boston area, Newton, Massachusetts. And when we were building it, we did 50% common space. In fact, we focused on the common space before we added the apartments. Only 40 apartments. Before COVID, we had over 2,000 visitors, not counting family and friends. And we had over 40 organizations utilizing, is that me?
No, it sounds like an emergency signal on everybody's phone.
Oh, great. Right place, we're safe. We had over 40 organizations utilizing our space. In fact, they brought in programs. It was no heavy lifting on our part. The community created community. And when I was building all this, I was told I was crazy because the American experts, because I had done research in Scandinavia, I had seen the future. In fact, the Scandinavian Living Center is traditional assisted living, but it's based on the best nursing home I saw in Denmark. We need our nursing homes to be the foundation of our industry, because when I built the Scandinavian Living Center, I needed to be better than that best nursing home. Now, the biggest obstacle in building the Scandinavian Living Center, in opening it up, was everybody. Not only in this room, including me, everybody didn't understand what we were doing. They said, oh, it's a marketing concept. It had nothing to do with marketing. In fact, success for us is if someone came into our building and had no idea that it was traditional assisted living. They were there for something else. I've actually had family members come to an event and forget to visit their loved ones. And this is where the institutional thinking affects me too. We have a cafe, well, before COVID, open to the public. And one Saturday I was in there, and I saw our neighbor, and I looked at the neighbor. Instead of saying, welcome, I said, what are you doing here? And they said, well, I had to meet a friend. I'm just going to have some coffee. They had an option to go to Starbucks, Pete's, Dunkin' Donuts, and they decided to come to the Scandinavian Living Center. Now, where is this pushback coming? I'm going to share something real quick. Fortunately for you, my summer reading last summer had to do with the U.S. Census and the development. Some boring subject. I love history. But in the 1850s, it was a great idea to come up with counting the people in America. How many people exist in the states? And then they came up with dividing the ages, and they said, and this is what we have for over 65. Not a problem, great information. Until the turn of the 20th century, we started the young people saying, what are we going to do with the people over 65? We need to do something. Positive thinking, but the problem is that's when the segregation, I believe, began. The segregation from community. So what did we do? That generation, great generation, they built these beautiful homes on a lake, away from the community. And they were outdated. And guess what? They were based on hospitals, you know this, hospitals that today are outdated. And then those children would visit their loved ones, their grandmothers and grandfathers, and today they've grown into those adults that are living in these places. And what do they say? What did my mother say? I want to die at home. And she came to my place, and one of the best things she said to me after about a couple of weeks was, boy, I wish I moved in 2 weeks earlier. It's that perception that hurts us from moving forward. I believe the nursing homes are the foundation to everything we do, including assisted living, independent housing. But I believe that we need to get out of the business of caring. That is the caring that we developed over 100 years ago. When you isolate any population, that's not caring. And that's institutionalizing people. Segregation at any level does not work. Bringing the community in helps make the change in the perception. And folks, we're looking at over 100 years of people thinking how terrible these nursing homes are. I would rather die at home. I heard a statistic a couple of weeks ago. 70% of us are going to need aging services. The other 30%, if you're lucky, you're going to drop dead or get hit by a bus. Now, I was part of that 70%, and that's how I got in the industry. As a healthy teenager, I was thrown into a geriatric unit for minor surgery. It kept me in the hospital for 8 days. 4 days, 4 nights in the geriatric unit changed my life. So when I look at things, I look at it as that little boy who all I have is common sense. It wasn't right what we did to those people, and I had to live with them for 4 days, 4 nights. If we're going to succeed and make the changes, you need to be a little crazy here. Don't listen to the experts, because there's no experts, but bring your community back. The segregation of our golden asset is not right. And the perception that's created by the people working there, the people visiting there, will never stop unless we change what we're doing. Now today, when we closed down our building, A week before the governor closed us down. Someone, I thought you were saying keep it quiet. Okay, sorry.
Oh, so my marshmallow.
No, that's okay. I could see it. I have all these things. I have the slides. Yeah, I didn't know you did this. This is pretty good. So I had a resident who was on a panel last year, Wynn Barnard. She said to me, I appreciate seeing all the neighbors, all the community, but I'm an introvert. I said, okay, let it go. We closed the building. 2,000 people went to zero. 40 organizations, they left. And right away, she got what we were doing because we were isolated. For the past 2 years, I feel like we've been like everyone else because our community is gone. And I can't wait to bring them back. So the human connection, good or bad, leads to stories. And it doesn't matter the ages, just bring people together. Now, I'll tell you a little story. We had a physical therapy company in our building because we had a great fitness room. It's one of the 40 plus. And this parent brought her teenager to get PT. Once she realized it was an assisted living, she said, not a good idea. I'm not having my child exposed to this. So she left. 2 weeks later, fortunately, another parent came with a teenager. Said, I don't like this idea. Why would you put PT for everybody in an assisted living? Because you know what, I don't know, let's see what happens. So her son went to PT, and within a week or two, it was a moot point. He was having coffee and drinks with the neighbors living there in the cafe. The exposure alone to the community, when you have over 2,000 people visiting, they start to change on how they feel about things. And it came to fruition with me that we had gone through this battle. And believe me, there's a lot of stories where people, even the neighbors living there, the residents, were against connecting with what they called the outside community. So there was a story done on us by one of those local chronicle TV places. And the mayor was interviewed. So I hadn't seen the interview when we saw the story. And she said, and this is after 5 or 6, 7 years of people not understanding what we were doing. She goes, well, we're going to tear down the senior center, and we're going to build it up like the Scandinavian Living Center. We want community to come together, all ages. We're not going to segregate. So I hope if the takeaway for our future is just simple common sense. Our best study, our biggest weapon is common sense that we lost when we segregated ourselves from the community. So I ask that as we build the nursing homes, because we know we need to fix them. They want to put money in like private rooms. I believe in all that. But don't stop at the private room because you'll be outdated. Bring the space, create the space. And what's nice about community-centered living, it's based on the city and town's gathering needs. There's no like cookie-cutter answer. So I would love to see funding go to cities and towns to redevelop the nursing homes that were built 75 years ago, outdated. But build it so it's as I ended an article, a year ago I wrote an article and got edited, so I'm gonna give you the last sentence. They kept this in. You need the nursing home to be a destination. This is what they took out, not a regret. Imagine the day when someone says, I want to go to that nursing home because that's where I'm going to see my neighbors. Imagine the day that families, visitors, and staff see something in the nursing home and say, I'm going to bring that to my house. Imagine the day that people look forward to nursing homes and make it a destination. So thank you. It's my piece.
Those who know me know that's about how long I can sit. So I just have one picture. Thanks. Joe, you made my job a lot easier. I appreciate that. Not sure how there it is. Well, yeah. I just wanted to share one story that really led to a mind shift of mine. I started working at St. John's Home in Rochester back in January of 2000. I worked there for 13 and a half years. And right before I moved there from another nursing home, I'd helped the other nursing home open their first memory care neighborhood. And we were very proud of that. And when I came to St. John's, of their 14 neighborhoods, they had 3 that were dementia specific. And I got quickly put on the administrative team. Carol knows it well. We met every Wednesday and we talked about issues. People that need to move because of resident conflicts, because people need to move into memory care, off of memory care, people that were looking to move in and we weren't sure about their clinical complexity. And there was a lot of time spent on this moving in and out of these specific areas. And after a couple of years of this, nearly 20 years ago, I brought a piece of paper, kind of like Jennifer's, to the team, and I read this proposal to stop having these separate dementia-specific living areas. And they patted me on the back and said, "That's great, Al. Now what are we going to do about Mrs. Jones in room 531?" And so it just went on that way for a couple of years. But then a few years later, Van White, who's the gentleman in the picture here, came to St. John's Home. Van White's a local lawyer. He's a justice now, and he was also an educator. And he bought a bus off of the set of the movie Hairspray, a 1950s era bus, and he had it refurbished to look exactly like the bus that Rosa Parks sat on and refused to give up her seat for a white man back in the 50s, sparking the Montgomery bus boycott and a big part of the civil rights movement in the US. And he would go to schools, community centers, nursing homes, wherever, and he would bring the bus, and they have video monitors, and he would tell the story of Rosa Parks and the civil rights movement. And so I got on the bus with some other team members, with some elders living with dementia, some elders not living with dementia, and we all sat together on the bus and heard about Rosa Parks, and the light bulb went on. Rosa Parks was a woman who, because of a physical difference, was told she couldn't be around other people. And we have thousands of people in the United States who, because of a physical difference, are locked away in places where they can't be around other people. And my original arguments were all operational, the efficiency of moving people back and forth, the disruptions, the fact that we'd created a safer campus. But then civil rights came in, and that was really where it was all about. And so I started working shortly after that on my first book, Dementia Beyond Drugs. In the middle of it, I just put a little one-page proposal, which I called a modest proposal, saying we need to stop having separate living areas for people with dementia. And I predicted in the book that it would be the most controversial part of the book, and it turned out it was. I didn't say a lot at first. I kept my head down, but when people asked about it, I would talk about it, and I had people coming up and saying, "Yeah, I agree." And then so when the next book came out, I doubled down, and I had several more arguments I put in there with civil rights at the center of it. And finally, when the Eden Conference came in 2016, Denise Hyde asked me to push people. So I included that in my keynote. And what happened actually was two leading Eden homes after that conference went and took the doors off their memory care. Century Care in Mississippi, 3 campuses, thank you Century Care, and Sherbrooke Community Center in Saskatoon. And Sherbrooke Community Center not only took the doors off, but when a bed then opened up and they thought about should we move somebody to that neighborhood that didn't have dementia, the first person was the CEO's mother, who welcomed the opportunity to help people who had some cognitive challenges to give her a sense of purpose. This has really been what I've been talking about. Now, 2 messages, really important. First, the culture change message you hear at Pioneer every year. This is not about the people. This is not saying that there are not brilliant, compassionate, caring people that work in memory care. It's about the system, and is it right to segregate people? There were brilliant teachers in segregated schools back in the 50s, but that didn't make segregation the right thing to do. The second message is that we know that there are real concerns about unlocking doors. We know about that. You don't just take the door off and walk away. It takes a lot of planning and preparation. So in taking this farther, taking this next, because we've talked today and yesterday, we've talked about race, we've talked about sex, we've talked about immigrants, we've talked about LGBTQ inclusion. Let's take it one step further here. Jennifer and I started working on a book a couple of years ago to give you what we call practical pathways to inclusion, to help you understand not only the philosophy, but ways we can do this in the safest and most respectful and inclusive way possible. And we had a little delay with the pandemic. We're back at it next week, and we have brought with us, because Jennifer and I have been out of long-term care for a while, we have brought with us Pat Sprigg, the recently retired CEO of Carroll Woods in North Carolina, who did this work on a beautiful, inclusive, multi-acre, non-fenced, non-gated campus for nearly 3 decades, and has the stories and has a lot of the practical work that we need to make the book complete. So this is where we are going. This is what we're doing. My friends at Schlegel Villages, also one of the neighborhoods, Riverside Glen, took the door off one of their neighborhoods, Mapleton, and they've also done very well with that. So it's slowly happening. And Jennifer reminds us that about 3/4 of people living with dementia in long-term care are not in separate areas. So we're already doing this. It's just a matter of how do we take take it to the next level where there are some more challenges. How do we understand how to take it further? And we hope to help you with that. But when I think of community, when I think of inclusivity, when I think of what Joe has said, when I think of what Jennifer has said about resilience, when I think of what Barry said about how we need diversity to keep us strong, I think that this is another civil rights movement that we can be involved in. So thanks very much.
So Al, I'll take the clicker. the clicker, yes. All right, so first of all, I want to say I'm thrilled to be up around the campfire. Only thing, I need to be closer because I'm not feeling the warmth. I'm just saying. My hands are still freezing. That having been said, it's the first time, Joe, that I've actually heard you talk so passionately about the work that you do. And I just want to honor you for really pushing back and showing what's possible. And you have inspired all of us to think a little bit differently, and I hope we will. Al, I have known of you, your work. You have challenged me and made me better and made our communities better. And you've just issued another call to action to all of us about inclusivity. And it's time that we really rethink, and thank you, both of you, because you unknowingly kind of hit the same theme. I saw Al's, hey, that's what I'm going to say. And Jennifer, I think you should spend more nights in the bar partying to create those love letters. That was incredible. And I know you as a researcher. I know you as the author of a book that you will co-author with Al. But that was brilliant, and it was spoken from your heart. And last but certainly not least, Barry, I've known you from afar for a long time. And I have to tell you that I knew of Barry's work in Israel when I went to Israel. And I met with Tamara Edel-Gottstein, and she said, my good friend Barry Barkan from the States has started the culture change movement in Israel and really cast a vision there for community and for going better. We are indebted to you and to all that you have inspired, not just here, but globally. And so really appreciate all that you've done.
And I am indebted to you. And I am indebted to the deep spirituality and the taking on of racism and all the isms that were embedded in this conference. And thanks to you, and thanks to you, Penny.
Well, and last but not least, actually, Penny, it's to you. And as you know, it was interesting when she was giving tribute to Joan and to Kathy. She said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was over there, oh, I do. But I have to tell you, all through the week, as we have watched Joan and Kathy running around, our team is like, what are we going to do? So to think about what life will be like without you guys, you are forever a part of our hearts and our community. So as we think about what's next, and as we think about the alliance that you all have just heard little tidbits about, I'm going to try to, stand behind these incredible people and just tell you a few thoughts that I have had. I need to drink more at the bar, I've decided, because I know it won't be quite as eloquent. But I wrote down just a few things. Anybody a fan of Simon Sinek? Anybody read the book Infinite Game? I love The Infinite Game. Anybody read it? So The Infinite Game is an amazing book. And essentially, in life, there's a finite game and there's an infinite game. A finite game is about winners and losers. An infinite game is just about getting better. An infinite game is surrounding yourself around a just cause. A just cause is inclusive. It's not segregated, it's inclusive. It is something that is very service-oriented. It really is about doing something and making a difference. It is about resilience. It's really surviving and enduring throughout crises. We're demonstrating that. You are demonstrating that. And last but not least, it's big and it's bold. And it's getting to the things that we've been talking about for so long. The second thing I want to say is what I've thought about. It's the power of we. And that's what we have been talking about. It's accessing our collective wisdom, where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, where we are tapping into all of our assets, our knowledge, our wisdom. What have you seen? The stories that you learned from to be able to create something so beautiful. That's what it's about. It's the power of we. If we keep ourselves in silos, culture change will never happen. The movement will never grow. I think about rivers coming together. And when you think running simultaneously or in silos like this, but what happens when they come together? Think of the power that's in that coming together. That's the power of we. It's the power of we. And the last thing, anybody fly Southwest out to Denver? Fly Southwest out to Denver? Well, I did. And I was flying with some of my colleagues who were checking their bags, of all things. And because they were checking their bags, and I would have to wait for them while they got their bag, I said, oh, heck, I'll check my bag. I never check my bag. But what it did, it created one of those epiphany moments. Thank you, ladies. I was at the Southwest gate, and I looked up for a moment, and there was this big banner across there. And this is what it said: strong today, stronger tomorrow, strongest together. Hashtag heart strong. And I thought, that's it. And I was trying to capture the picture, but people thought I was trying to take a picture of them, and like, what is she doing? So I refrained. So here's what I will tell you. Where is this going to take us? We're going to communicate lots of different things to you. And where did I do my clicker? Okay. 2020, we had prepared for a conference. And as we thought about a new decade, I don't know about you, but when I was looking at 2020, I was like, yeah, baby, this is our year. Greenhouse, we are ready for impact. And our conference was planned for May 2020. Well, guess what? COVID came. And we didn't even do a virtual conference. We just were like, what do we do? Well, what we did was we collected some data, some really good data on greenhouse homes. And here's what I will tell you. Those greenhouse homes, they were made for the moment, and they were ready for the impact of a deadly virus. And so as Penny and I have been talking, and the team has been talking about, so what's our conference theme for 2023? And here's what we've decided. We are ready to impact. That where our model stood strong, the power of we are strongest together. We are hashtag heart strong. We are going to Pittsburgh, baby, 2023. And we're going on a mission to impact. So get ready, Pittsburgh 2023. And now, there are lots of traditions. I was afraid I'd poke my eye with the stick, and so I put my marshmallow down. But there are other things that I think are important, and I'm going to invite Al and Jennifer up to we're going to end this session with a song that's really inviting you to take that step. Let's go together, and we're ready to impact. Let's leverage what we've got, and let's do this together.
And I'm going to invite my friend Ann Hills, who sang that lovely vocal on Witness, to join me on stage. And who co-wrote the song. And maybe if we could borrow another mic that somebody doesn't get to use, maybe you and I could share. You want to do that? Or
Yeah, I'll hold it up.
I've got one here for a guitar, which may or may not be on.
There it is.
Jennifer was kind enough to
This side.
put the lyrics to the song on a PowerPoint.
No, I'll just scream.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
I'll be
thank you.
I'll be
Thank you.
close enough.
Oh, we have one thing to do first. Sorry. This is how you warm up your voice before you do the song, okay? We want to sing Happy Birthday to Clayton McKay today from Java Music Programs. So, sing it with us. Clayton.
Happy birthday
to you.
Happy birthday
To Okay. Ann and I had a friend who was a wonderful singer-songwriter, guitarist, who's from the Denver area, Chuck Pyle, who sadly died prematurely a few years ago from a heart attack. And Chuck wrote a song that is the perfect song to capture what Susan said about better together. And we're going to start by teaching you the chorus because you need to sing on the chorus. So if you could flip, Jennifer, are you doing the slides?
If somebody gives me the clicker, I'll do it.
Jennifer knows the song and she's going to sing with us too. But so here's how the chorus goes. It goes like this. It goes step by step, side by side, hand in hand. This whole world's a better ride. Step by step, side by side. Take a little step with your neighbor, side by side. Simple, right? Sing it with us. Step by step, side by side. Step by step, side by side. Hand in hand, this whole world's a better ride. Repeat again. Step by step, side by side. Take a little step with your neighbor, side by side. Okay? Got it? Got it? No? There's an old ancient saying in the wind. One must only take the first step to begin. You're on your way, now you've done the hardest part. So make your journey with a generous heart. Here we go. Step by step, side by side, hand in hand, this whole world's better ride. Step by step, side by side, take a little step with your neighbor, side by side.
We've all stumbled and broken our stride, wearing old worn-out boots of foolish pride. Now we're gonna put on our brand new running shoes to run a race which no one really can lose. So step by step,
Side by side, hand in hand, this whole world's a better ride.
step by step,
Side by side, take a little step with your neighbor, side by side. If you see me falling down and you stop to lend a hand, what goes around comes around and around and around. If you run to another for help, it don't mean you can't do it for yourself. It just means that your neighbor will know that if he needs a hand, he'll have a place to go.
step by step,
Side by side, hand in hand, this whole world's a better ride.
step by step,
Side by side, take a little step with your neighbor, side by side.
Now if you all understand the heart's the one true power, and that nothing that we see is really ours. From a satellite we all look like one, then I think our world's time may finally come.
Last time.
So step by step,
Side by side, hand in hand, this whole world's better ride.
Step by step,
Side by side, 3 times. Take a little step with your neighbor. Take a little step with your neighbor. Take a little step with your neighbor, side by side.
all the way back to
Yeah.
Pittsburgh at that time, right?
Thank you, Ann. Thanks, everybody.
All right, everybody. We'll see you in the morning, hopefully for the pep rally or for Red Rocks Oh, for Christopher Ridenour.
For Christopher's
Yes,
session.
absolutely.
You won't want to miss Christopher Ridenour's session at
Christopher's a
8
ball.
a.m.
Yeah, that's right. It's a praise party or something like that. So
It is a
good
praise
stuff.
party.
All right, go out, play baseball, have some fun.